All right, we can go ahead and get started. I will now call to order the meeting of November 9th, 2020. Would the Deputy Speaker please call the roll, the attendance?
Senator Aryan Arkin.
Present.
Senator Baker.
Here.
Senator Belay. Senator Dillingham.
Here.
Senator Hawk.
Here.
Senator Hathaway.
Here.
Senator Cosme. Senator Lang.
Here. On Micah's phone.
Senator Liverpool.
Here.
Senator Nadeem.
Here.
Senator Changase. Senator Ramirez. Senator Rogers.
Here.
Senator Sadi. Senator Salimi.
Here.
Senator Tulloch.
Here.
Senator Yoon.
Here.
We're at exactly 12 senators.
All right, no one leave because that means bad things for the meeting because we are right at quorum. So we're now going to sing the Genesee. Full many fair and famous streams beneath the sun there be, yet more to us than any seems our own dear Genesee. We love her banks and stately falls, for to our minds they bring our dear old alma mater's halls, where sweetest memories cling, as flows the river gathering force along her steadfast way. May we along life's devious course grow stronger day by day, and may our hearts where'er we roam forever loyal be to our beloved college home beside the Genesee, beside the Genesee. All right, we're now gonna read the land acknowledgement. Would a senator like to read the acknowledgement? Senator Salimi.
Yes, okay. We would like to acknowledge with respect the Seneca Nation, known as the Great Hill People and keepers of the western door of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers on whose ancestral lands the University of Rochester currently resides in Rochester, New York.
All right, thank you for that. We will now go into open forum. This is a space for anyone from the student body, including members of SA government, but not limited to members of SA government, to speak about anything that they would like to mention. Are there any points of discussion for open forum? Micah Greenberg is in the gallery. I don't have it set up yet. Senator Liang.
There are some concerns. Sorry, this is all logistically very complicated, but there are some logistical concerns from students regarding the ability for them to opt out of winter stay, opt out of the winter stay dining plan specifically. We were wondering why it is so difficult for students to opt out, especially since in theory we should have control over how we allocate our own money. Was wondering if there was any follow-up on that. I yield.
Senator Salimi.
Oh, sorry. I have the floor. Oh wait. I yield. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Okay. Is there any discussion or follow-up or questions based on the point made by Senator Liang? Senator Hawk?
Yeah, so we've had multiple meetings with Cam regarding this certain issue. We've over the past 2 weeks, we've like constantly emailed him and followed up about, different options that we can give students and how to make it more flexible. But one thing that they're very stern about is that the cost for the meal plan is something that is automatic because there's no charge for housing for the winter break, but the only payment you must have is the meal plan. We've tried to talk about it, but we've gotten a really like blank no from them that it can't be worked around because they also have to pay they have to like pay for staff and all that. But Senator Kazmi and I have discussed about pushing a little further to see if we can meet with someone else to discuss this. So if anyone has any pointers or advice on that, or if you'd like to work with us on this, then please feel free to reach out. I yield.
President Gorka.
Hi, I am also driving back from the senior night right now, but just on that, I know that from my conversations earlier about like earlier in the semester about how to like help students that can't necessarily afford things like quarantine, those extra additional costs that are unfeasible. Just something I want to like advertise is the fact that one, financial aid has said that they would try to help students, especially those in high need, to make ends meet on the costs. And in addition, also what is it? I am blanking right now on what that specific
appeals it's an appeal system.
Yes, but there's also something through ODOS. I can't believe I'm blanking on it right now. Where you can apply and get additional funding for
Basic
things
needs hub?
like exactly. Thank you, Senator Hawk. Basic Needs Hub as well. Like they're accepting applications if people need help covering that $900 cost. And I just wanted to say, like, I'm happy that Campus Services is looking into this. But just also if students are, particularly frustrated, if they want to be a little proactive, I guess, about those concerns, like they can try to reach out to their financial aid advisor or apply for the Basic Needs Hub. Those are just two options I want to just like advertise and put out there. But yes, I yield.
All right. Is there any other discussion or questions or points for open forum? Senator Liang.
Yeah, so just a clarifying question. Do we know where that money is going? Oh, sorry, I yield. Oh, sorry, wait. Before I yield, the money specifically referring to the money that costs, that is the dining plan cost. Is that going back to dining services? And then are they using that to offer meal services? I'm just trying to understand like where it's going. Or if we don't know. I yield.
Senator Hawk.
We do not specifically know because they haven't gotten into detail about that, even though we've tried to pry. But Senator Liang, if you want to together look into this, then I'd be totally willing to yield.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Did you yield? I might have missed it.
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. Senator Arnarkin.
Yeah, so I'm a bit confused. If Amanda just asked where the money is going, isn't like the money for the dining plan is going for the dining plan for the winter break? Like, isn't it true that the dining services will like continue to provide at least some coverage for the winter break and hence the money are going to that? Yeah, and with that, if Rusama, if you can answer, I would yield to you.
So it is supposed to go into the dining plan for the winter is the idea that we've been given, that there's the dining staff that we also have to accommodate, and living stuff, and also food, because they're providing meals for probably a lot more than usual that stay over winter. But what I think Senator Liang wants to know is the specifics of the budget allocation and the allocation of like resources that they will get, because the amount of money for a 1 month meal plan does seem a little steep. So I guess that's why Senator Liang wants to look into it, which I would also be willing to, because Senator Kazmi and I have had discussions about, if people could afford to pay $1,000 for a month-long meal plan, they might as well have gone home and come back. So specifically, we want to look into that just to understand, or to just give an answer to students that the amount of money that's being charged by the school is being allocated in this specific way. So I guess that's the point. I yield.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, got it. And I'll yield to Micah.
I'm not sure if Micah is currently in the meeting.
And I'll yield to the floor.
Senator Hawk, did you want to add anything?
No, I didn't, but I'll yield to Lily.
Hi, so I just wanted to get sort of senators' perspectives on how you think the university is handling COVID, specifically testing, and those in quarantine. I've just heard various amounts of rumors, and I'm not necessarily happy with how all students are handling it, and in particular how the university's fully handling it. In connection to that would be, are we getting any form, sort of what Justina just put in the chat, any form of refund or discount to the sense that we're leaving really early? I just haven't been notified about that. It was under my impression that like when I inquired over the summer for my particular financial aid counselor that for housing, since our stuff will technically be here, we won't have any refund or any sense. So just sort of general discussion. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
So since I have the floor, I wanted to just mention something regarding the COVID situation and how the university is handling it. So we don't have rapid testing, and what that does is when a student gets tested, the day that a student gets tested at UHS, they're sent to Whipple Park to quarantine if they're showing symptoms. But contact tracing isn't done until test results come back positive. And test results take up to 3 to 4 days, is what UHS is saying. And for some people, it's taken up to 5 days for test results to come back. By that time, the people who were in contact with that specific person who tested positive have already gone about and done more things and putting more people at risk unknowingly, obviously. So I feel like this is a huge issue, and I just want to know why we don't have rapid testing, or what could be done to look into that further, because I feel like the time delay that it takes to get to the contact tracing stage, by that time a lot of spread has already happened. So that's my that's how I see it being a problem. I yield.
I forget how this works. Do I have to be yield to again, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, I'm still in the gallery then.
Senator Liang.
I'll yield to Lily.
Yeah, so essentially just I've heard that there's people leaving quarantine and isolation and then going somewhere and coming back, which just is unacceptable. I don't know how to necessarily mandate and make sure that isn't happening, but I'm pretty confident that was happening. I also know that in the sense of rapid testing, like I got my results back fairly quickly when I was randomly selected, so they do have the capacity to do it pretty quickly. And if they're doing it 60 a day and we don't have 60 cases a day or whatever number that is, they should have the ability. So I don't know what committee that would necessarily fall under. But given that we only have a couple weeks left and we've had a rise in cases, also that next semester, we don't sort of know what it's going to look like. I really think putting pressure on administrators to really prioritize how they're doing their testing and also prioritize the way we do our contact tracing, because it's really falling on the university instead of Monroe County. These are just my concerns as a student who has a general decent background in coronavirus.
Senator Liang, you have the floor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would echo those concerns. To answer the question about the rapid testing, so the difference between testing that is reasonably fast and rapid testing is that rapid testing basically allows you to get your results almost instantaneously. That's what we do in Hong Kong. When you land at the airport, you hang out at the airport and then they test you immediately and they give you their test results back like, I don't know, like within a couple of hours, within like, perhaps even 30 minutes if the load is really low. I think the reason why we don't have rapid testing at the university, according to my understanding, not from any administrators, but I assume it's because it has to be FDA approved. And that process usually takes a really, really long time. And that FDA approval is not something that, something that it's basically up to the state. The FDA. Yeah, but that's all I know. I'll yield back to the floor.
President Gorka?
So just to speak on the rapid testing portion, because we had the student advisory committee meeting for the CURT group this past Friday, and I also had a correspondence with Dean Runner over the weekend. With rapid testing, New York State's developing, their own essentially, and they're distributing kits to institutions that are in like yellow and red zones, and now we qualify for that. So I'm going to be following up to see if we can even, potentially have those rapid testing kits for the U of R now in particular. I know that at least where testing is concerned, now that we're in a yellow zone, there's a couple of things that might be changing. Like now we might be mandated to test before we leave back home. When I know that was a discussion within the campus services about trying to get folks the option to get tested before they leave. So, now like we're kind of, juggling between those questions of like New York State guidance and how it's going to be applicable here. So people can expect updates on that in the meantime, and I'm going to definitely be continuing my correspondence with Dean Renner to get more of those answers. As for, I'm trying to remember the other portion of your question, Lily. I think it was like on quarantine and getting those testings. Senator Hawk answered that for me. It's really just about having the gestation period to see if the virus kind of develops, and that's kind of like a give or take 5 days. And I know that there's also new New York State guidance coming out of, how can we make quarantine more flexible? Can X amount of negative tests justify people leaving quarantine early? That's, of course, all stuff that's being discussed. And I think like now we definitely are trying to like focus more on guidance for next semester and how can we improve from this fall. And something that I'm personally looking into is specifically the quarantine conditions in Whipple Park, but also we're going to be reserving spaces within hotels in the Rochester area for next semester for any potential influx. So people can expect updates more on that. I know that we were before sourcing from this one particular hotel that I think went out of business. So it's been a lot of juggling and going back to the drawing board on a lot of things. And if anybody has any specific questions about what transpired in the CURT Student Advisory Board, I know that we have updates coming up on the agenda. So I'm sure we're going to discuss that a little bit more, but feel free to like reach out to myself, Speaker Alexander, Connor, if you're on the call as well, if you want to contribute anything from what we discussed Friday. But yeah, that's more to come also on the Senate agenda. So
Deputy Speaker Keel?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of give like a little firsthand perspective. So I was actually in quarantine for the last 10 days, and I just want to make it known that I was not tested before or after the quarantine. And I know that similar things have been occurring with people in quarantine. So I'm a little concerned about how people like me, how the situation is being dealt with.
Do you yield?
Yes.
Senator Hawk?
So to speak a little bit on Lily's point about people leaving quarantine, I think that's extremely irresponsible and worrying if that is actually happening. As far as Whipple Park is concerned, I know that there's no surveillance there to actually check if people are in their rooms or whatever. They only leave stuff at your doorstep by knocking, and nobody really checks until the person is cleared that they've left their apartment. So also because, you can't put your workers at risk by making them come into close contact with somebody who is probably positive or has tested positive. So I understand where that lack of human surveillance comes from, but I don't know why there's no like cameras or security like that ensure that people aren't leaving, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with college students. So I don't know how much we can, take for granted that they won't. So if anyone has any ideas about that, or, I'd be willing to like follow up on this if anyone wants to like collaborate. Aside from that, what Matt said, I got tested before I was moved to quarantine the day that I was tested, but I wasn't tested when I left quarantine. And when I had asked UHS, they said that they don't test people because if you've like isolated enough, you're not at a risk of spreading anymore. And for people who are positive, your test might show positive for up to 3 months after you tested positive. But as long as you've gone through that 14-day quarantine period from the first day of your symptoms, you shouldn't be at risk of spreading to the community. Well, that being said, I know that in other parts of the country, people in my family and everything, they've been tested after their quarantine was over. So I don't know why the school is not testing students once their quarantine period is over. And if the whole like your test can come positive for 3 months thing is actually legit, because in other places too, I've heard that people got tested negative after they tested positive in quarantine for an ample amount of time. So that is definitely something that's worrisome. And I don't know what the entire thing behind that is, but if anyone has anything on that, that would be great. I yield.
Senator Liang. If you are speaking, I cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. I yield to Lily.
So yeah, that's helpful to hear. And what Deputy Speaker Keel said is something that I've heard numerous cases. I was a contact of a contact, and that direct contact ended up not getting tested their whole quarantine. And for me, that was concerning. And that the only instance that I found out about that was from that person. And like, thankfully, my dad is in public health, and I was able to ask him what my risk was, and it wasn't a risk at all. But if that wasn't there, like I would have no information from the university at all. And that person also was never tested. And like, if we're randomly testing a certain amount of people, we have the facility, we have the ability to do this. I just don't understand. And like, I don't think you guys have answers to this. This is just something to inquire about. And I understand that is just, why aren't we testing people when they're coming into quarantine? Because that would just eliminate so many resources were being spent on keeping them in quarantine. Because if they're a direct contact and then you find out that they're negative after a certain amount of days of exposure, there's, like, we could go into the specifics of that, but there's a certain amount of days where like it's actually fine if you test them and then they're negative. You don't need to spend money on keeping them in quarantine for the next 10 days. So I think we're putting our resources in the wrong area, and like that's all of our money, all of our tuition going to that. So just perspective of where the money and resources are going is probably helpful.
Senator Liang, you have the floor.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we should inquire about. I sort of wonder, I know that a few SA people are on the current advisory committee. I was wondering if anyone can speak to that. I yield to Chief Justice Zanagato.
I'm going to quickly address Amanda's point, but then speak to something Rasama brought up. I think students have an ability and I would say an obligation to ask for more testing. I think the long story short of it is that there is the testing situation on campus isn't great. I think if I can put it any more clearly, students are better evaluators of their personal risk of COVID than any rule of thumb that can be made up. But I realize that due to conditions of scarcity, that's why we have those rules of thumb. That being said, I think we're at massive level, we're a massive research institution. We have lab capacity. It's really, we should be able to pull off a significantly higher number of tests than we currently are. I know that this is something that we brought up in CURT, student advisory, but I really just want to highlight it here is that students can and should ask for better. But that points aside, because I think that Justina and Xander might be able to speak more to that. I want to speak to the concerns about people leaving quarantine. If someone is doing something that potentially harms the community, please report it to conduct, especially when it's something, even if it's something weird, even if it's something you're not sure if it's covered, better that you report it than you don't. So that's my short-term recommendation for that, is just please report it to conduct. Even if conduct can't do anything about it, they'll try to make sure it gets to the right place, or a relatively small institution. So that's sort of what I have to say in that sphere. I hope that I addressed some of that. I know it's not really covering a substantive solution, but that's a temporary one. In the meantime, I yield.
Senator Liang, you still have the floor.
Okay, so it seems like the COVID response is a bit of a cluster. Okay, so I'm trying to determine what actionable steps we have currently that we should be taking as Senate. In terms of following up, I was wondering if Speaker Pavlison had any recommendations as to who we should hound down.
I'm going to recommend that you reach out to President Gorka, and if it's specifically on a portion related to the Student Advisory Committee, that we do that during that section on the agenda.
Sure. Okay. I would like to yield to Micah. Micah Greenberg.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Just reminding you all that I also do Campus Times, and for Campus Times, I'm sort of working on a big project long-term to be published at the end of the semester. That'll be sort of a semester in review as it relates to public health, sort of how we did this semester. So if there are any of these stories that you have about being in quarantine and not being tested, for example, or anything like that, just feel free to reach out to me, and that'll be something that helps us know what to look into on CT's end, that might get more information to be published to the student body. That's it. I yield.
Senator Liang, could I ask that you yield?
Sorry,
to give Senator Arnarkin a chance to speak.
Hey, yeah, so we've been talking about like the issues of testing, and we've been talking about like students doing like bad things, but I feel like we should just like address as one paragraph saying that in general, like our community have been doing amazing. Like we have survived 2.5 months, we have survived Halloween, we have survived the one-day break, and like the cases seem to be stabilized on like 0 plus minus. So just I feel like we should, like pat our friends on the back virtually, of course, and say that so far we've done very well, but we can also do better. Just wanted to, like get us all on the same page that so far like 2.5 months has been very good, especially compared to our like some of our peer institutions. Look at Notre Dame, for example, and I yield back to the floor.
Deputy Speaker Kale.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to cover this later, but I know that some additional restrictions were just placed on the university today. I'm not aware of any notifications that were sent out to the students, so I was just wondering if the students will be notified of all the additional restrictions that will be coming in the next couple weeks after being designated a yellow county.
President Gorka, did you want to speak to that?
Sure. So I had just like a very brief conversation with Anne-Marie Algier this afternoon. So she like essentially informed me, that we were now in this classification. What does that generally mean? So I'm going to probably follow up with her for more information, but initially from like what I was told is room capacity is now going to be a little bit smaller. The amount of people that can be present at an in-person event is smaller. I know that at least for already today, we had the senior happy hour, and within 3 hours, they had to change the format because they no longer could have, 40 people to an event anymore. I can follow up though, and then bring updates either through informal channels or also again, like during Senate next week to figure out exactly how they might be communicating this. But to my knowledge, like from my initial conversations again with the AMA is
is that's what's initially changing like immediately. Are those two things, like room capacities and how large events can be in person. I yield.
Are there any other points for open forum? Reminder that we do have a section on the agenda dedicated to CURT and specifically the student advisory group. So if there are specific questions to bring to that group, that would be also a good space to bring that up. But are there any other points of discussion for open forum? All right, seeing none, we can move into CURT. Are there any questions or points of discussion for what's on here or questions to bring up to that group regarding coronavirus? President Gorka.
So just to give some additional updates, I'm just going to zoom in on the agenda. I'm on my phone still. Just to elaborate on the points mentioned so far. So at the meeting that we had on Friday, we had the public health ambassadors come and kind of present their case for, you know, more testing and what needs to change, at least on that kind of, you know, testing, Dr. Chatbox front. Recommendations that kind of came out of that is changing sort of the layout of the dashboard. So going off also on our conversations last week about how kind of confusing it is, the conversions they try to do on the data, the presentation overall is not really that great. So they're gonna, to my knowledge, they took that back to discuss with higher administration. So hopefully the dashboards should change. Also the recommendation on testing options, because I know at least there was talk of trying to do another round of testing similar to what we saw around the demonstrations where students that were asymptomatic could get tested. Whether that's going to happen, it depends on you know, the supply, because from that discussion on Friday, apparently they're really backed up with processing those tests. Now the delay is like somewhere between like 2 to 3 to 4 days. That's an issue within the med center that I know there's like, you know, advocacy around that. So we'll see, you know, how that progresses. I also know that from the discussion Friday, the administration has found the issue that people don't always show up to their random surveillance testing, and that's something they're also trying to address. But other than that, other updates, again, kind of mentioned in open forum, testing folks before they leave for winter break. That seems like that's going to potentially be either highly encouraged or mandatory. We'll see again how New York State guidance changes. And then also the question of, you know, how quarantine is going to look like for the start of the semester. And it's a little for the start of the spring semester, let me clarify. And that's a little still too early to tell, because again, like with evolving New York State guidance, there's a potential that it can be very convenient in the sense that, you know, you have, you take a test before you enter quarantine, you quarantine for 3 to 4 days. So long as then you get another test that's negative, you can be released. But that's also still discussion points on the table. And I'm trying to think if there is anything also significant discussed, but that was kind of like updates from the conversations we had Friday. And if anybody had any other points that they wanted us to bring up, we can do that as easy as an email correspondence. I don't think we're meeting again for another 2 weeks. Yeah, it's bi-weekly. But also like email correspondence, like I don't personally mind bringing up anything to Dean Runner and Dean Hine and Melissa Applestrud. Like you know, if anybody has anything they'd like to discuss other than what was mentioned at open forum or even elaboration of, feel free to do it now, and we can try to get that correspondence working together. But yeah, bunch of words. Connor, if I missed anything, Xander, feel free. But those are the updates from that group. I yield.
Senator Liang.
I have another question on data. So if it's the case that they're not testing students who are entering quarantine and exiting quarantine, given exposures, I think there's a question in my head about the positive cases and the data that we're getting, which would have to be from testing. So if they're not testing everyone who's going into quarantine because of an exposure, like the conjecture there that is implied is that it's underrepresenting positive cases. Is that correct?
From what I recall from the meeting, the number of tests that were related to the number of positive cases related to random testing was very low. And the number of positive cases related to symptomatic going to UHS was the vast majority, just for context. Not sure if that answers your question.
I see. I was wondering if we could get a breakdown of where the number for positive cases is coming from, what's being counted in that. I think that would probably be really great data to have, or really great information for the student body to have as a whole. I yield.
Deputy Speaker Keel?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this has been, I guess, worked out yet by the CURT team, but I was just wondering if the school has started making provisions for students coming from those states on the list or other countries that need to quarantine before coming in, like it was this semester, or if that's like still in the process. Just wondering what the status is on that.
President Korka?
That in particular is going to be really dependent on evolving New York State guidance. The other point on the CURT updates that I didn't mention is the fact that we're going to be having a town hall. It seems like they're still trying to advertise the date for my email this morning from Dean Runner. It's looking like it's going to be sometime Thursday, but other than, information on winter breaks day, what was disclosed in the CURT meeting is that they will also be sort of like, accepting questions from students on like the start of the semester, essentially how that's going to look like to their best knowledge. Because again, it's still too early to tell on the quarantine half, like how moving back for the spring semester is going to look like. I yield.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or discussion for coronavirus, CURT, student subcommittee, anything related to that? All right, Senator updates. Any discussion on the update that's there or anything to add?
I just want to clarify, when I say presenting, I'm referring to someone from the committee itself, not myself, but I think Senate should be notified. So who will be presenting at PSRB this Thursday? It's going to be just Tom Gibson, who is the chair of the ad hoc committee. I yield, that's it.
All right, any further discussion for Senator updates? Seeing none, we can move into academics.
Do I have the floor?
Yep.
Okay, so it's pretty simple for us. We had our first meeting, basically some like light informal debriefing among the members. We are beginning to start working on our priorities and sectionalizing like our work on that matter, especially on burnout, but also allowing each senator to work on their own projects that we have mentioned in the past, that you have seen for the past minutes. We're also particularly working on a survey that we're going to be sending out to the student body to see how their syllabus are working, how are the class applications of the syllabus are working when it comes to burnout and stress, if there's any abuses or rules being broken, and how is the general mood of that. It's not like a particular case reporting for oh, we need to talk to this department or professor, but more like what is happening across the board in the school, to see what are the main causes of concern, especially per division, because STEM has its own particular instances, humanities has different things, and so on and so forth. We will use some of the information in preparing an open letter to department heads on the same issue of burnout and how students are doing. And also recruiting, we're thinking of recruiting probably for next semester, but still we do need some more people. And if anybody here can help us with that, we'll really much appreciate it. If anybody's interested in academic affairs or something related, point them to us. We will be happy to take them into consideration. That's all. I yield.
All right, is there any discussion for academic affairs? All right, ARC, anything to add?
just remember that new organization proposals are due December 1st. If you know anyone trying to make a new organization, poke them, make sure that they're doing what they have to do. And then, so you'll see I put the SORB makeup. So based on the Senate PPMs, I have to alert you of SORB. And since we have a full committee now, there's all the names. You'll see our one of our senators, Noah Hathaway, is on there. So woohoo, that's your Senate rep, in case you all wanted to know. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
All right, any discussion for ARC? All right, appropriations, anything to add?
Nope, we didn't meet last week, so I have no funding updates.
All right, any questions or discussion for SAC? Campus services.
Yeah, so during open forum, Justina did mention that there is an appeals process. So the appeals process is something that we got as a solution to, the entire meal plan situation, that we can help students navigate an appeals process, which will specifically cater to dietary restrictions, and other issues that students have. So if there's anyone that you know who needs help with that, you can ask them to reach out to me or Senator Cosme. We also have, but we are also, still advocating to have the requirement removed. So we are working on that. We've emailed AMA about like further steps, and we're already in conversation with Cam about this for like a while. Campus Services has endorsed the statement recognizing the efforts of the music department, sponsored by Senator Ramirez and Senator Salimi, which we'll talk about later in new updates or other stuff. Yeah. About sad lamps, the distribution has already started. So we've worked with WCSA, and this week students are signing up and picking up their lamps from WCSA. The link is in our SA Instagram handles bio. So if you know anyone who'd be interested, please direct them that way. We've also reached out to UCC, and Bridget from UCC is sending the link to high need students that she feels might want to take lamps. So we're having that underway. Lamps will have to be returned the last week before Thanksgiving break. So that's also a thing. So yeah, that's all. If you have any questions or anything, then please feel free to reach out. I yield.
All right, any questions or discussion for campus services? All right, seeing none, student life.
Yeah, so I guess like to continue off of the work of campus services as well. So we're also looking into winter stay and spring return, but in our jurisdiction that would be looking at affordability and talking to financial aid. So there was some student confusion based on someone receiving from their personal financial aid counselor at the university mixed information that was different than what was posted publicly on the website. We followed up on this. We were like, hey, so like, is the dining plan covered or is it not covered? And it is covered. It will be covered to the same exact percentage as the housing coverage that you will receive as well. In regards with that, we also sort of poked them. We were like, so, where will these questions be answered? Is there going to be something that you're going to put out? They're working on a frequently asked questions for students. They will release that sometime this week, and we will likely help disseminate that. In addition to that, this isn't written there, but we finally decided on the LAs that we would have, which is the motion that we have on the bottom of the agenda. And then we will also be continuing to work on community building in the time of COVID, as well as following up on petition demands. And now that ideally, this week when we have a full committee, we'll be able to sort of go take a deep dive into those things. I yield.
All right, any questions or discussion for student life? Seeing none, we'll go to Isaac.
Hello. So can you guys hear me? Sounds good. So ISO responded to Isaac's request of creating the International Students and Scholarly Advisory Board, and it will be basically a representation from all different schools, from undergraduate and graduate programs. And again, the goal is to provide feedback to ISO and the policies and practices that ISO is implementing, and this communicating between the students and the national community and the students.
Yeah.
And for that, we have a statement that we want to get approved by the Senate in this meeting. It's I think it's in the agenda down. Yeah.
All right, any questions or discussion?
Yes, actually, I wanted to add to that. I had a meeting with the planners of the International Education Week today, the committee, which is based on, I think global engagement is one of the people running it, and CCAS as well. They have some great programming that they're planning for the week, and they just wanted to hear us out, and we sort of pitched our program to them. They're very happy about it. We're still talking to ISO, Joe Tastani, and Korea's Uncorked and other people to sort of make sure that that happens. So so much work is put in that. We also had our first ISAB meeting, which was successful, which is sort of related to the statement that we'll be sort of presenting to the Senate tonight. Yes, so the meeting we had like administrators and people from higher admin. Provost Jane Gatewood was there, and like I said last week, it's sort of comprised of a lot of graduate students and an ISAC, which represents AS&E. So that was very successful, and Waleed will talk more about the statement later. And then Dean Burns finally responded to us, so that's good. We'll be talking to him about the resolution that we passed 2 weeks ago about a student, about an sort of a task force or a crisis response team. We've also been having conversations with Laura Ballou around that, and also ISO, to just sort of make sure that everyone's on board, and we can actually create something like this. I also had a quick chat with President Gorka today, just clarifying what the sort of like merits of the resolution. And yeah, that's it from my side.
All right, any further questions or discussion? All right, executive updates.
Awesome, I'll be quick. So Policy Against Discrimination Harassment Advisory meeting is the times are getting scheduled, so kind of how we ended up deciding kind of the layout of how essay representation will work and how we can get collective feedback, because that is a relatively confidential group at the moment, is Parliamentarian Sahin, Justice Lucio, and then Chair Liang, as well as myself, will be looking through some of the policy work along that. Expect an email from me with some initial documents and some stuff forwarded from Morgan Levy. But yeah, if there's any questions on that, let me know. I won't be able to really give many public updates on that particular group regularly until there's a final decision, but I'm down to have a one-on-one conversation if anybody's curious. Next thing, Student Code of Conduct Review Group. That also, I mean, there's representation from SA on that can also speak to it, but it seems like we're coming close to a final proposal on changes within the conduct office, but also Brigham Cultural Center, seeing what we can do better to advertise, and also like maybe some potential structural changes with bias incident reporting. Again, like if you're curious on that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm hoping to, present updates myself, or, any of the other SA representatives involved closer to when we come to a final draft. But conversations have been good. Next point, E3 review. E3 again is the policy of reviewing Greek life within the U of R. It's a specific U of R sort of initiative where we kind of decide on chapter accreditation from that. I had more meetings with John DeSaro. We kind of have a timeline that I articulate in my updates. Again, if you're curious on getting involved or want to help me out in any way, it's going to be a project that spans this next semester and then also the fall after I leave. But I'm trying to do some of that initial comparison, benchmarking, finalizing some interview questions because we're trying to solicit a lot of feedback from a lot of student groups. So there's a lot of work ahead, but it's looking pretty optimistic. I'm really happy that John and Casey are willing to review the policies. Okay, next thing, Students Association bonding. This is something that myself and Marie Algier were discussing. We're trying to do another bonding event similar to how we had, I believe in October, food trucks, but instead of like lawn games, potentially doing some sort of like stress relieving kind of like little craft that people can take with them, like a quick little thing before, you know, Thanksgiving that weekend. So whereas I don't know how that's going to look now with the yellow zone, like, because again, my comment earlier, in-person events are going to have to be smaller. I do still want to try to do some sort of bonding, but we'll see. But anyways, like if people have any recommendations on food trucks, or if you were at the last event and had any, I guess, like sort of feedback you'd want to share, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll forward those comments along. Moving on, I think this is my last update for this section. I had one more thing. I don't think that was included on the agenda, but regardless, like real quick, the Presidential Advisory Council, we think I didn't check since Saturday, but I think we have 14 applications, which is, you know, pretty great. Representation, you know, we're still missing some key groups. So I'm just, you know, asking again, second week in a row, if you have any students, sorry, motorcycle on the street. Anyways, if you have any students that you know that are not associated to SA, but are very, you know, strong student advocates in their own right, have strong opinions about things, have been very, you know, active in the sense that they're keeping up with university news and have some, I guess, ideas of things they'd like to change. Please forward the application along. I know myself and Mark are looking at starting up more independent projects as Mark is finishing up the Social Justice Living and Learning Center. He's currently looking into another executive project he can do, and myself included. Now that kind of some of the more like bureaucratic internal concerns we've resolved, and you know, we're freeing up our schedule a little bit more. We'd love to have that council in particular help us solicit feedback on these ideas, and also long term for the committees. Like this will be a great group to source for any sort of initial surveys or you know, any kind of opinions that you need for any of your personal initiatives. It'll be like a great group for feedback. And then the last point that's not on the agenda but was kind of mentioned is Dean Runner, in that email that he sent to me this morning, asked that aside from advertising, if we could help as the Students Association collect any questions for like the more preliminary portion of the winter break stay Zoom call, like that would be great. So if there's any questions you think that students have or yourself have about winter stay, whether it's like faculty or not faculty, facilities concerns, like what kind of programming, like how's the community going to look like, you know, things of that nature, feel free to forward those questions to me and I can forward them along to Dean Runner so they can answer that at the first half of the town hall that they're trying to do. That would be great, because we want to make sure we're trying to cover all student concerns and help, you know, make sure that information is getting communicated a little bit more proactively. But that's all my updates. If anybody had any questions, I'm all ears, so I yield.
Sarah Liang.
Yeah, just a quick question about the social justice living and learning role, I guess, like living. I was wondering if you guys were talking to the current leadership of DLH about that, and whether or not you were in contact with Mauricio Coombs. But I understand that it doesn't look like Mark is currently here. But if you could pass that along, I think that connection would be really important in furthering advocacy.
I think Mark's on the call. So I don't know if Mark, if you're connected and can hear us right now. I will say that I'm not directly involved in the project, but I know that they were reaching out to some DLH e-board leadership. Whether Mercutio was in those conversations, I'm not necessarily sure. I know that aside from DLH, they were also reaching out to the Lilac Floor president and some other e-board members, and then also the International Student House, which I don't know the progress of that particular initiative because it's outside of SA. But the student that was proposing that particular SIH that was also a student stakeholder that was, just looped into these social justice living and learning center initial conversations. Mark, if you're on the call and want to elaborate, feel free, but that's to my knowledge, like the folks that have been looped in.
Senator Liang, did you have any other points?
I mean, I just saw Mark in the list. I was wondering if that question could be answered by Vice President Haddad, if possible.
Well, I can't answer that question because in the beginning, me and myself, Vice President Haddad, were in discussion. So we were talking to basically DLH leadership. Did that come? And also Lilac, but we did not, in my experience, because I haven't been up to date of recently because of other prior things. We have not, in my experience, reached out to Mr. Vice President of BSU so far, but I could be out of date because Mark has been taking lead on this for quite a while.
Okay, well, if y'all could just pass along that he's working on this stuff as well, in particular regards to like DLH permanency in that discussion, it would be cool to connect and probably combine forces because it seems like we're all doing the same thing. I yield.
President Gorka?
I'll make sure to pass that along, Chair Liang. Because yeah, I think definitely like DLH permanency in particular has been like a hot topic, and a lot of individual groups I know, including like members within FSA, were wondering like how can they support this kind of initiative. So it seems like yeah, there's a lot of individual groups trying to address the same issue. So I'll make sure to talk to Mark. One more thing I did want to mention, wasn't on the updates, was just kind of like an expectation. This is like completely like 180, but just the expectation that with any sort of conversations you guys are having with administrators, make sure you're looping in Xander and then also advisors, especially on emails, like a quick CC, just so that they know the kind of projects that you guys are working on. I know that the meetings with the advisors in particular that chairs are supposed to have, like that was something that was delayed. COVID, back at it again. But yeah, just like as a rule of thumb, and also on that, like expectations on resolutions, statements, bills, like any sort of like legislation, just to make sure that you're giving ample time for folks to review it, not just within, the co-sponsors, but also like within the committees that it's applicable towards, leadership, advisors, parliamentarian Sahin. I just want to put that expectation on there because I feel like, recently we've been doing a lot of great work. We've been doing it very quickly, but we haven't been necessarily getting the, okay from everybody that, should be looped in on these conversations. So just as a reminder moving forward, like a 2-week period for review, or at least ample notice, like that would be really appreciated. And hopefully also with I know that Isha was scheduling the meetings with the chairs, executive and legislative leadership, like hopefully that also will help with that sort of communication concern. But I just wanted to like emphasize that, making sure looping in leadership and advisors. But yeah, that was my last thing. Any other questions on that or any of the other updates? No. Okay. I yield.
Anything else for executive updates? Senator Liang, were you raising your hand or no? Okay. Alumni Advancement?
Hi, this didn't get put onto the agenda mainly because the meeting just happened and just wrapped up. Okay, so in the spring, there's going to be a revamp of Meliora Collective. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who took time to speak to me about their qualms and difficulties with the platform, but hopefully in the spring, they've taken those suggestions in and it's going to work a whole lot smoother. Secondly, there's going to be training for Together for Rochester for student alumni ambassadors, where they will get a chance to speak to, they call her KCM, Karen Quaresma, I can't say her surname, but she is in charge of diversity and inclusion here at the University of Rochester, as well as Joe Testani. Then there was an alumni initiative called Comfy for a Cause that sought to raise funds for the Basic Needs Hub. So far, they have projected a whole lot more money coming in this year than they were expecting. So that's a good thing, especially with the way winter break is looking. And then lastly, I have 2 calls for people who want to do stuff. Number one, alumni have been interested in finding out how we are coping in a COVID world. So if anyone is interested in doing an Instagram takeover on the UFR alumni Instagram page, please send me a message, whether it's on Facebook, on Instagram, or wherever you can find me. We're just looking for people really in different majors, doing different things. Even if you are at home, that's really good to know. And then secondly, senior giving campaign is something that has been on the back burner, but like we're trying to bring it up into the forefront. So if you are interested in participating in the senior giving campaign as a senior, also please send me a message. We're not having a strict cutoff line this year of like we're trying to raise X amount of money because of everything that's happening, but we are trying to at least leave something behind as the class of 2021 to the school. So if you have any questions, just send me a message and I'll respond.
All right, any questions or discussion for Alumni Advancement? All right, community engagement. Anything to add? Any discussion? PR, anything to add? Any discussion? All right, ACJC.
Hi, everyone. This is just a quick reminder to follow the COVID commitment. We've gotten extremely lucky this semester. I don't want to make any, I don't want to underplay that or understate that at all. We've done incredibly well, but mostly because of luck. We've had a lot of chances, but where things could have gone much worse than they are. But every single time, I think because of the character of the student body and our commitment to caring about each other, we are looking hopefully at the end of a physical semester. So keep going, and make sure that we finish strong, especially when it comes to travel. Second thing beyond the COVID commitment is a quick update on the guest policy working group. So that has folks like Eden Thomas, the ARC chair in it, a bunch of RAs, a bunch of justices, a senator or 2, as well as some people from Eastman, or 1 person from Eastman. So I gave them a private update about a week or so ago about where we were. But long story short, we are a little bit without direction at the moment. The reason being that we've been pulled in a bunch of different directions over the course of the past few weeks, such that the initial plan and then the replan of the plan and the replan of the replan of the replan all got thrown out the window. So long story short, I'm unsure if we're going to be using winter break as an experimental stage, at least the initial part of it. So our timeline got moved back again. I know that's not ideal for anyone, especially people currently staying on campus and planning on doing so for the rest of the semester. I know people were really looking forward to the experimental phase, but unfortunately, just because of the big COVID scare, especially picking up cases, positive test results, I should say, through randomized testing, that's got the public health people all sorts of concerned about our fragility. So we got very lucky on that, but I don't want to give people false hope when it comes to the guest policy, at least for the next few months. Of course, long term, it is still in review. It is still on the table. And we're still committed to seeing and exploring what sort of changes we can make. But we'll likely be reconvening that when we get some free time to do so, maybe the next week and a half. So I can answer any questions you have about that after I give my update, but the following update is one that we've been pushing towards for a very long time. It actually preceded my time on the council itself from its first initiation. It's been 4.5 years of pretty consistent advocacy for students, by the council, about changing the way our academic honesty hearing boards are formed. So previously, it's been 3 professors and 2 students. One of the professors being a presiding officer, but 3 professor votes, 2 student votes. Now it's 2 and 2. So we're really happy to see the balance there. We're really happy to see the equality. It's something, again, we've been fighting for a really long time. And so I'm really excited to announce this to the Senate. This is a pretty major breakthrough. There are additionally some other changes about the way in which the structure now operates, because we have an even number of people on each board. So breaking ties is likely going to happen more often. But I just really wanted to highlight the amount of work that a lot of people have put in. For example, former Chief Justice Lucas Avalar, and Maddie before him really put in tons of work, both into thinking of the reforms, but also advocating them. So I really just want to highlight their work and just say that I'm really grateful to them and everyone else who put in work on this. So thanks for your time. I yield.
Are there any questions or points of discussion for ACJC? All right, parliamentarian updates. Anything to add, any points of discussion? Seeing none, we can move to Speaker, Deputy Speaker updates. Matt, you have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, the only piece that I have on here that should just be noted is that the legislation was signed from 2 weeks ago, which would be Senate Statement 28 and 29, as well as Resolution 66. Are there any points of discussion or questions for Matt or I? All right, we're going to move into new business. Is there a motion? Senator Hawk.
Motion to approve the minutes from November 2nd, 2020.
Is there a second on the motion? Senator Liverpool. All right, we're going to, is there any discussion? We're going to move into a vote by unanimous consent. Is there any dissent on approving the minutes? Seeing none, motion passes. Is there a motion? I see Iman and Andre. Which senator is?
I did that, so I guess
Senator
I'll
Slavy. Okay.
Motion to approve Hannah Wiccan, Renee Whittington, and Paris Jameson as legislative advisors on the Student Life Committee.
All right, is there a second on that motion? Senator Liang.
Seconded.
All right, is there any discussion? We can move into any of the candidates or Chair Liang.
Yeah, I want to thank all 3 of them for being here right now. If they are still here. Thank you for being very patient. I just want to describe a little bit about the process we used to interview. So Devon and I actually interviewed all of the candidates together. We interviewed a total of 5 people, and then we came down to 3 for the Student Life Committee and 3 for the next motion, 119, which we can, I guess, elaborate, or I guess Devon can, Senator Rogers can elaborate on as well later. But basically, we came together, we derived a set of standardized interview questions. We had a lot of discussions about what kinds of questions we deemed acceptable, what kinds of questions we're really going to get candidates to tell us about their experiences and how their experiences apply to student life, and their experience not only working with teams, but also working with negotiating things with administration and keeping up to date and being plugged in on social issues on campus. We also asked a key question, which was basically, tell me about a time you had to listen to feedback or criticism. And we determined that these 3 candidates were super great and super fit for student life. I'm really happy to be presenting them here at Senate today. We also talked about the interview questions as well as the interviews during committee. And yeah, that's where we're at. I yield back to the floor.
Would any of the candidates like to introduce themselves or provide any additional discussion?
I can introduce myself. My name is Renee Whittington. I am a junior majoring in psych and public health, specifically HBS and child growth and development. I'm part of Indulgence Dance Crew, and I'm also a Posse Scholar.
Hello, my name is Paris. I'm a freshman. My majors are political science and French, and I'm also studying Chinese and legal studies for my minors. And I'm a part of a few groups here, actually. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hannah Whitkin. I'm a first year. I'm planning to major in philosophy and political science, minor in religion, and I'm excited to get to work.
All right. Are there any other points of discussion? Seeing none, we will vote by roll call whenever the Deputy Speaker is ready.
Senator Aaron Arkin. Senator Baker.
Yes.
Senator Belay. Senator Dillingham.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Senator Hawk.
Yeah.
Senator Hathaway.
Yes.
Senator Cosme. Senator Liang.
Yes.
Senator Liverpool.
Yes.
Senator Chongase.
Yes.
Senator Nadim.
Yes.
Senator Ramirez.
Yes.
Senator Rogers.
Yes.
Senator Sadi. Senator Salimi.
Yes.
Senator Tulloch.
Yes.
Senator Yoon.
Yes.
And Senator Aaron Arkin, if he's still on the call. It's 15 yeses, 2 abstentions.
All right, motion passes. Congratulations. Is there a motion? Senator Rogers.
Motion to approve Hannah Wickin, Renee Winnington, and Janice Lukatoon as legislative advisors on the Equity Inclusion Climate Board.
Is there a second on that motion? Senator Liang.
Seconded.
All right, same thing. Any discussion, any introductions from candidates?
I would like to say that, again, I will echo a lot what Senator Liang said. The process was diligent, and I am very happy to be having these 3 legislative advisors as members of the board. I really think they'll help in a startup. This being his first term being active, so I really appreciate them helping me lay down some foundational work for this board to last continuously. So I really appreciate them for joining, and I believe they're very great candidates, and I think they'll bring a lot to SA in terms of energy, perspective, and overall candor.
All right, any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will move into a vote by roll call when the Deputy Speaker is ready.
Senator Aaron Arkin.
Yes.
Senator Baker.
Yep.
Senator Belay.
Yes.
Senator Dillingham.
Yes.
Senator Hawk.
Yes.
Senator Hathaway.
Yes.
Senator Liang.
Yes.
Senator Liverpool.
Yes.
Senator Nadim.
Yes.
Senator Chongase,
Yes.
Senator Ramirez,
Yes.
Senator Rogers,
Yes.
Senator Sadi, Senator Salimi,
Yes.
Senator Tulloch,
Yes.
Senator Yoon.
Yes.
15 yeses, 2 abstentions.
All right, motion passes. Congratulations. Is there a motion, Senator Rogers?
Motion to approve Victoria Liverpool as a senator on the Equity Inclusion Climate Board.
Is there a second on that motion? Senator Nadeem.
I second the motion.
All right, discussion. Chair
Yeah.
Rogers.
Yeah, so I think Victoria Liverpool, I mean, a lot of us know that she's a great person to work with. I think she's very open-minded, open perspective to different issues going on campus. I feel as though it will be helpful to have her perspective and work ethic within the board. I think she's a very valuable player, and I think she's very engaged in the community. So I think she'll help do a lot with the foundation we're setting with this board. So that's it.
All right, any other points of discussion?
Sure.
Seeing
Yeah.
none? Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really excited. After Senator Rogers brought this up at Senate last week, I reached out to him to get involved. I think that this is a really awesome initiative, and I think that a lot of helpful things can come out of this board, and I would love to be a part of that. So yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, we can move into a vote by roll call when the deputy speaker is ready.
Senator Arnarkin,
Yes.
Senator Baker,
Yep.
Senator Belay,
Yes.
Senator Dillingham,
Yes.
Senator Hawk,
Yes.
Senator Hathaway,
Yes.
Senator Liang,
Yes.
Senator Liverpool,
Same.
Senator Nadeem,
Yes.
Senator Chongase,
Yes.
Senator Ramirez,
Yes.
Senator Rogers,
Yes.
Senator Salimi,
Yes.
Senator Tulloch,
Yes.
Senator Yoon.
Yes.
14 yeses, 3 abstentions.
All right, motion passes. Congratulations. Is there a motion? Senator Nadeem.
Motion to approve Senate statement regarding the International Services Office for creating the International Students and Scholarly Advisory Board.
Is there a second on that motion? Senator Chongase.
Second motion.
All right, would the statement writers, sponsors like to discuss?
Sure, Sakil, I'll take, can everybody hear me? Sounds good. Cool. So basically, ISEC reached out to ISO requesting them to create an international students and scholars advisory board, ISAB, because we felt like the international students were like we wanted more representation and communication between between ISO and the student body. And that's why we reached out to ISO, and ISO responded to that request, and they created the International Students and Scholarly Advisory Board. And it will hopefully make the communication between the international student community and the ISO better. It will be an indirect way to communicate with the ISO organization and just getting our views across to them. And we just want the Senate to approve the statement. And Chongase, if you wanna, Senator Chongase, if you wanna add to that.
Yes. So we had the first meeting this week it was very successful. Like I mentioned earlier, there was so much sort of insight from a lot of international students who were elected by their schools, their respective schools, to sit on the board. And we'll just continue to be meeting and sort of hearing international students' concerns the semester and the next, I guess, and sort of try to create more simpler and more effective ways and paths through which international students can raise their concerns and be heard. And so we think that this is a very positive step, and we're very happy that ISO responded to it.
All right, any other points of discussion on the statement? Seeing no further discussion, we will vote by roll call when the deputy speaker is ready.
One second.
Just a reminder, yes is in support of approving the motion, passing the statement. No is not in support, and abstain is a conflict of interest or otherwise non-yes or no vote.
Okay, Senator Arnarkin. Senator Baker.
Yes.
Senator Belay.
Yes.
Senator Dillingham.
Yes.
Senator Hawk.
Yes.
Senator Hathaway.
Yes.
Senator Liang.
Yes.
Senator Liverpool.
Yes.
Senator Nadeem.
Yes.
Senator Chamisa.
Yes.
Senator Ramirez.
Yes.
Senator Rogers.
Yes.
Senator Salimi.
Yes.
Senator Tulloch.
Yes.
Senator Yoon.
Yes.
And Senator Arnarkin. He's still there. Okay, 14 yeses, 3 abstentions.
All right, motion passes. Congratulations. Is there a motion? It's either Senator Tulloch or Senator Salimi.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry.
Senator Salimi.
Motion to approve Senate statement recognizing the music department's efforts to assist students regarding the increase in music room keys.
Is there a second on the motion? Senator Changase?
Second.
All right, same thing. If the sponsors or co-sponsors would like to discuss.
Yeah, so Senator Salimi and I met back in with a couple heads from the music department back in September. And then we kind of put it on pause since we were working on the fall break project throughout October. But essentially what we wanted to do is like really recognize the music department for their efforts to make it equitable for all students to be able to afford the increase in the music room keys. So prior to the pandemic, as you can see, as if you read on this statement, it was like $20, but afterwards, once like the pandemic hit, like it was raised to a one-time payment of $50, which was kind of bad timing, but it was something that was already scheduled to happen prior to any knowledge of the pandemic. But something that the music department really did in like trying to really meet the concerns that some students had was that they essentially made this policy where they would either waive the entire fee or significantly reduce it to make it a lot more affordable for students who have demonstrated need. If anybody has questions, feel free to like ask now.
Senator Salimi.
I would just like to say that Senator Ramirez has worked on this so much, and honestly, like most of the credit for this project goes to him. And I would just like thank you, Rafa, for all that you've done for this project and for this, yeah, thank you. I yield.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will move into a vote by roll call when the deputy speaker is ready.
Senator Arkin, Senator Baker,
Yes.
Senator Abile,
Yes.
Senator Dillingham,
Yes.
Senator Hawk,
Yes.
Senator Hathaway,
Yes.
Senator Liang,
Yes.
Senator Liverpool,
Yes.
Senator Nadeem,
Yes.
Senator Changase,
Yes.
Senator Ramirez,
Abstain.
Senator Rogers,
Yes.
Senator Salimi,
Abstain.
Senator Tolk,
Yes.
Senator Yoon.
Yes.
12 yeses, 5 abstentions.
All right, motion passes. Congratulations. Is there a motion? Senator Tulloch,
Oh, motion to adjourn.
is there a second on that motion?
I second the motion.
Senator Salimi,
Sorry.
is there any dissent on the motion to adjourn? Seeing and hearing none. Oh, Senator Changase, is that dissent?
No, sir.
I second.
Okay, seeing no dissent on the motion to adjourn, we are adjourned.
Hi guys.
Bye. Hey everyone.